The announced withdrawal of U.S. troops from Germany doesn't make military sense, but it does interest a self-centered leader like Donald Trump. Europe needs to take the initiative on its defense. Donald Trump seems to finally be making good on his threat. The U.S. president apparently wants to punish Germany for, in his view, not spending enough on its own defense. But this decision by a temperamental president is misguided for several reasons. Removing 9,500 troops from Germany does not make military sense. It does not follow any recognizable strategy. The U.S. personnel there essentially work within the framework of NATO for the Pentagon's European and Africa commands. They operate the Ramstein airbase, a military hospital and a military training facility. They are important pillars of NATO infrastructure, but they do not, strictly speaking, contribute much to Germany's national defense. Trump's erratic decision to send some of those troops to Poland and the rest to the U.S. weakens his own military, as well as NATO. It is a purely political decision made to put pressure on Washington's ally Germany. An alliance should be about trust and working together, not antagonizing and blackmail. Trump didn't even feel it was necessary to formally inform the German government about his troop withdrawal decision.
I swore an oath to uphold the laws of our nation, and that is exactly what I will do. I will fight to protect you. I am your president of law and order and an ally of all peaceful protesters. But in recent days, our nation has been gripped by professional anarchists, violent mobs, arsonists, looters, criminals, rioters, Antifa, and others. A number of state and local governments have failed to take necessary action to safeguard their residents. That is why I am taking immediate presidential action to stop the violence and restore security and safety in America. I am mobilizing all available federal resources, civilian and military, to stop the rioting and looting, to end the destruction and arson, and to protect.
It is true that Germany will not meet the NATO threshold, agreed in 2014, of spending 2% of gross domestic product on defense by 2024. Washington and other members of the alliance can of course criticize that, but by withdrawing troops the U.S. is only weakening itself. Vladimir Putin will celebrate the fact that NATO leadership is sowing division within its own ranks. The Russian president could not wish for a better counterpart in Washington than Trump, who is incompetent when it comes to military strategy. Putin will happily do everything he can to drive a wedge NATO members. The joy emanating from Poland, meanwhile, is premature. Warsaw views the relocation of U.S. troops to Polish soil as a reward for its national conservative government's allegiance to Trump. But the move comes at the chagrin of NATO's European members and, as already stated, has little military relevance. The troops in question will consist of military staff, if anything, not combat units. Permanently transferring troops further east to Poland will also likely violate the NATO-Russia Founding Act, thus further provoking the Kremlin.
And to protect the rights of law-abiding Americans, including your Second Amendment rights. Therefore, the following measures are going into effect immediately. First, we are ending the riots and lawlessness that has spread throughout our country. We will end it now. Today, I have strongly recommended to every governor to deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them. I am also taking swift and decisive action to protect our great capital, Washington, D.C. What happened in this city last night was a total disgrace. As we speak, I am dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers, military personnel, and law enforcement officers to stop the rioting, looting, vandalism, assaults, and the wanton destruction of property. We are putting everybody on warning. Our 7 o'clock curfew will be strictly enforced. Those who threaten innocent life and property will be arrested, detained, and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I want the organizers of this terror to be on notice that you will face severe criminal penalties and lengthy sentences in jail. It's going, I can't breathe! I can't breathe!
The decision by Trump, who is under massive pressure domestically, can be viewed as a part of his re-election campaign. 4 years ago, he promised to bring millions of dollars spent on NATO back to the U.S. It doesn't really work that way, though, because every NATO member pays for their own troops. There are no fees that the U.S. can reclaim for stationing its soldiers in Europe or anywhere else. Nevertheless, Trump wants to convince his poorly informed supporters that he can get the alliance dancing to his own tune. This entire affair has shown once again that NATO's European members cannot rely on the commander-in-chief in the White House. It is a wake-up call for Europeans to take the initiative when it comes to their own defense, and actually spend more money on it. The 9,500 soldiers slated to move would be assigned back home or to Poland and other allied nations. The U.S. currently has 34,500 troops in Germany. The move would cut down U.S. troop numbers in Germany to 25,000. Around 17,000 U.S. American employees support U.S. troops in Germany, Reuters news agency reported. The official, who did not want to be identified, said the decision had nothing to do with the escalating tensions between Trump and German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who rejected Trump's plan to hold a G7 meeting at the end of this month. Instead, the official said the decision was the result of months-long work by U.S. top military officer General Mark Milley. A second senior administration official said there was no need for a large U.S. presence in Germany due to overall increased defense spending by the NATO military alliance. The second official also said the United States had begun working on the plan last September and that the order was signed off by Trump's National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien. The top Democrat on Senate Armed Services Committee said the move was petty and preposterous. It's another favor to Russian President Putin and another leadership failure by this administration that further strains relations with our allies, Senator Jack Reed said. In the statement, White House National Security Council spokesman John Alliott said the United States remained committed to working with Germany on defense and other issues. German conservatives slam reported U.S. troop withdrawal, with the U.S. reportedly set to move some 9,500 soldiers out of Germany. Conservative MP Andreas told DW the decision seemed to be politically motivated. Another senior CDU politician described it as a wake-up call. The comments come after the Wall Street Journal, Der Spiegel magazine, and the Reuters news agency all reported that the U.S. is preparing to cut down its German contingent. Some 34,500 U.S. troops are currently stationed in Germany. The transfer is reportedly due to Germany not investing enough money into its defense. Washington's alleged plan to transfer about 9,500 troops out of its German bases is a symbolic gesture that is likely to weaken U.S. military operations and further deteriorate transatlantic ties, conservative lawmaker Andreas told DW on Saturday. Foreign policy expert and lawmaker for the ruling CDU party, Andreas told DW English that Berlin has yet to receive details from Washington. From all I know, there was no official information and communication to the German government, he said. In separate German-language comments, emphasized that this was a very unusual approach. The Pentagon has not yet publicly commented and has instead redirected press inquiries to the White House. This indicates that the decision is purely politically motivated and not made by experts, he said. On Saturday, senior German conservative Johann Wadeful said the withdrawal of troops would be yet another wake-up call for Europeans to take their fate in their own hands.